This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Vince McMahon Sr. certainly is a legend as far as our sport is concerned.
You came to me in a dream last night.
Welcome to WrestleMania!
You were standing in a brilliant light.
This is what has brought 68,000 into the sky.
1 minute here, but the next you were gone. I thought you could stay, but I was so wrong.
This is the most serious threat World Wrestling Federation has ever known.
The end is here.
If we don't pull it together, I will see all of you in hell.
The game is over.
There is no next year. There is no tomorrow.
No more pretending.
Shane and I just couldn't wait for you to die.
The World Wrestling Federation will wipe the alliance off the face of this earth.
The end is here.
Vince McMahon will see the WWF die. The WWF superstar is going to deny us from our destiny. The sports entertainment is going to take dead. Get a W.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Nation Invasion, where tonight, me and my guests, we are going to be covering the Raw from November 19th, 2001, and the SmackDown November 22nd, 2001. And tonight will mark the end of this podcast, Nation Invasion. I've reached the end of the Invasion angle, the Raw after Survivor Series and SmackDown after Survivor Series. I think is a very good spot to end it. I was going to end it at Vengeance 2001 with the crowning of the Undisputed Champion, because to me, I thought that was the end. That was the end because now we have an Undisputed Champion and it's not a WCW title and WWF title. It's just one champion. But there's no WCW ECW alliance anymore after Survivor Series. So it's just back to WWF versus WWF superstars mostly all the WCW guys would get their so-called jobs back. I mean, since they were under WWF contract and everything, some would have better careers in WWF after the Invasion angle than others, but we'll get there. We'll discuss it when we get there too. But first off, I'd like to thank Scott Criscolo for letting me do this adventure podcast on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. Thank you very much. And now I would like to thank all of my guests that I've had, starting with Jacob Williams, Logan Crossland, Matt Souza, Scott Shiflett, Jennifer Smith, Chad Campbell, Steve Riddle, Tim Capel, Ben Locke, Justin Rozzero, Marcus Fuller, Tim Taylor, and also I would like to thank Luke Jennings and also Jeremy Nichols for helping me get through these last couple of weeks here on the Nation Invasion. So thank you to all my guests who I've had on for helping me through this whole entire adventure. Thank you. And without further ado, this is my last guest, but he is a returning guest to help me close out the show, Mr. Keithy by God Langston. Keith, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, this is the end, my only friend, the end. Hey, Gruney, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Congratulations, pal. This is a monumental episode for several reasons, but most importantly, I would say it's an accomplishment that you made it all the way, and you should be proud of yourself and take your bows, get your flowers, all the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I'm going to, and I cannot believe that I made it to the end here and finished this up. It was a very fun ride.
Sure, I can imagine. I mean, it only took you 25 years to get to the end, so that's good.
Yeah, almost 3. Yeah, 3 years actually. And Keith, I failed at one thing actually. I failed to get Sean on this podcast.
Well, that's, you know what? You're not missing much. Trust me.
Mostly everyone fails to get Sean on these days.
Yeah, you really have to. You have to want to listen to him just complain about everything and tell you how much Stone Cold Steve Austin sucks and all that. And so, if that's not really your deal, then you're in better shape than most people. So I wouldn't worry too much about having Mr. Sean demand hit on anything, because he's just a big pain in the ass anyway. So.
Yep. So we finally made it, Keith. We're on Raw 11/19/2001. Mostly this Raw is for the moments here tonight, and this is a very heavy Vince McMahon Raw here.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, well, of course, because this is the victory lap. This is his victory dance over at least what he perceived to be the greatest storyline he's ever produced in the history of his company. So, yeah, I would say this is an extremely heavy Vince episode. But there's some interesting side notes as well. Some returning faces, or at least one returning face. And yeah, no, it's an interesting Raw altogether.
Yeah, by the time you get to SmackDown, it's like, okay, there's no such thing as the Alliance. It's almost like in Men in Black when they go, hey, can you look at this camera for a second? Oh, there you go. It's like, oh, what WCW, guys?
Well, it's even yeah, definitely with SmackDown, but even worse, like it's almost like within the first hour of this show, or even the first 10 minutes of this show, it's already like, wait, what was the Alliance? What happened? And
yes.
Yeah, so no, you're right. Very interesting. Always odd how, Survivor Series, I feel the way Survivor Series ended because of that. I guess I'll just say like the double cross by Kirk Angel, right there. But yeah, no, it's an interesting altogether. So, and also it's how quick Vince turns from this massively over baby face, really from, I mean, the Invasion pay-per-view, but you could even say from the first or second, maybe King of the Ring, or the first or second Raw after WrestleMania. He's this like massive over baby face. And then he becomes right again. He goes right back to being like the massive piece of garbage heel that he is. So yeah, it's a great Raw, a very monumental Raw.
Yes, it most certainly is, and we're gonna get into it. So let's dive away at this, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is Monday Night Raw from November 19th, 2001, one day removed after the Survivor Series. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, Keith, did you watch Survivor Series on pay-per-view?
Absolutely. I mean, this was, as much as people hated the Invasion, I did not. I actually enjoyed a lot of the guys that were in WCW that ended up making their way to the WWF at this time. I was a fan of it. So I was definitely on board for the Survivor Series. And of course, so I watched it with bated breath, let's just say. Yes.
Yep. So we get a recap of the WWF beating the Alliance. And I like the end is here. song that's playing, it really built up because it was like, oh, is it going to be the end of the WWF or is it going to be the end of the alliance? And as we all know, Kurt Angle switched sides at the very last minute, hitting Stone Cold Steve Austin with the WWF belt, and The Rock pinned Stone Cold to finish off the alliance for good. So the WWF is in business and the alliance went belly up. We start off our Raw here on we're going to say a runway. It's a runway as Mick Foley is waiting for Vince McMahon's plane to land, and it does. And Mr. Foley walks out to the runway. He's greeted by a stewardess who says, Mr. McMahon has been expecting you. So Vince and Mick Foley are in the plane. Foley wants Vince to name a chair on Vince's plane after him. Foley says Vince made him not care about WWF, and basically Foley says, well, now that you're back in charge, I resign as the WWF commissioner. Yeah. A very weird segment here, Keith.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's no secret. Mick Foley's talked about it. I mean, many, many times that Vince and him didn't get along a lot, as far as like really once Mick was no longer viable of a character to him, I feel like. So it was no surprise. It was no surprise that he was going to do this, especially considering where we end up going towards the end of the night with this. But I wasn't surprised. I was kind of a little irritated with it because I thought that Mick Foley was a hell of a character. Commissioner Foley was awesome. When he was a commissioner in 2000, I really liked him. So for this to kind of end this way, I was like, well, that just kind of figures it. It left a bad taste in my mouth, so to speak, with the opening. But again, right away, it's showing Vince in this angle where he's going to become like this massive douchebag once again. So, yeah, kind of expected, much expected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, now with Vince being on television and him being in charge, it's like, what do I need a commissioner for? Because if you recall, when Foley is hired in 2000 as the commissioner, Vince is off of TV. His last appearance was King of the Ring 2000, and that's when Shawn Michaels left, and that's when Mick Foley becomes the new commissioner and everything. Mm-hmm. So then when Vince returns, he fires Foley. Then Regal becomes commissioner. Vince leaves again in 2001 off of TV for a while. Regal joins the alliance. So Foley's back as the WWF commissioner. But then again, Vince comes back to television. So as long as Vince is on TV, what do you need a commissioner for? I picked up that right away when Vince was making the matches on the Raw after No Mercy, when he made the WWF versus WCW Survivor Series match. And it's like, well, why isn't Foley here to do these spots here to make matches and stuff? So that pretty much said that Mick Foley was no longer needed, especially when he wasn't going to be on TV as well.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's also, to me, I understand. Well, but see, things change, though, because towards the end of this night, we see what happens with, like, William Regal, So, yep. Yeah, so we'll have to just kind of, it's mostly just it's really just that I think Vince didn't like working with Mick and vice versa. And so I think this was just a way for him to get rid of Mick and have it be just completely character driven and whatnot. So that's probably really what it was.
Yep. And so Mick Foley would not be seen until 2003. He would have a lot to say on websites, like those forum pages that he would write in 2002, especially on the Katie Vick angle when they did that in October of 2002. But it doesn't come back until 2003 mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So Vince tells him to have a nice day, and then we kick off Raw here. Jim Ross is at the commentary table. There's no Paul Heyman with him, and he's waiting to see who will take Paul Heyman's spot on commentary.
Yeah.
Vince comes to the ring, and here comes the first time we see him. Vince says, tonight is a night of celebration. He says everyone owes Kurt Angle a debt of gratitude. Vince says because of Angle, WCW and ECW are dead. He renames the WCW title to the world title. So it won't be called the WCW Championship anymore. It's going to be called the World Championship now, or the World Heavyweight title. I don't even think it was the heavyweight title at the time, but whatever. Vince says someone will join his new club called the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Someone who does not have a title on the Alliance will kiss his ass to keep a job. So anybody who didn't have a title on the Alliance was effectively out of a job. And tonight he's going to offer one member of the Alliance who didn't have a title keep his job by joining the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Vince says he has plans for when Stone Cold arrives, because Stone Cold Steve Austin has not arrived yet, and he does not have the WWF title with him. They left in the hands of Kurt Angle. So Vince notices the empty chair next to Jim Ross. He actually invites Paul Heyman to the ring. So out comes Heyman. Before he joins JR on commentary, Vince invites him into the ring. Vince says he likes people who speak their mind. And Vince also likes to speak his mind under the First Amendment of freedom of speech. He informs Mr. Heyman that he is fired. So he fires Paul Heyman on the spot. Then Paul tries to fight Vince first, but then he backs down. And then Paul tries to fight JR, but JR gives him a beating as well. Security takes Heyman away, and then Vince then announces and welcomes back Jerry the King Lawler. So Heyman's being led away by security as the King comes down. Keith, what did you think of when Jerry the King Lawler came back?
It was okay. I'm a Jerry Lawler fan to an extent. I think it was still exciting at this point in his run as like a commentator. I hadn't totally felt like his gimmick had run its course yet. So yeah, I was kind of excited about that. Sure. He's good. He matched up very, very well with Jim Ross, and they were always I felt like, they're the voice of our generation. That was the voice that we listened to growing up and enjoyed thoroughly. So yeah, I was enough of a JR fan that I could dig it.
Yep, and that is actually going to be really Paul Heyman's last time on commentary was at Survivor Series 2001. He would not be on commentary ever again. He moves on to bigger and better things as 2002 rolls around, no pun intended. But I like Paul during the invasion angle, and it felt like you needed a new, fresh face for the Alliance going away. So it did make sense, but I could not have the King be on commentary during the invasion angle. There were always talks of him coming back as the commentator for WCW with Tony Schiavone and stuff, but all those plans fell through, and Heyman was really great with JR during the whole invasion angle.
Yeah. No, that would have been awful having Jerry Lawler as like the commentator for the Alliance. I wouldn't have liked that at all. That would have been awful.
Yeah. So as King gets reacquainted with Jim Ross and the whole doing the commentary. Let me see if this idiot didn't screw it up too badly, and I can still do this. We have a WWF Women's Title match to kick things off. It is Lita versus Trish Stratus. Last night at Survivor Series, the Hardy Boys, it was Jeff and Lita. They were talking about how Matt Hardy has been acting strange the past couple of weeks. And Matt enters the room from the WWF locker room door. And then when Lita goes into the locker room, out comes Trish. So Lita's like, what the heck are you doing with my boyfriend? And talking and stuff, really. So... again, things are on ice for Lita and Matt Hardy here for a little bit.
Yep.
We have a takedown spear by Lita. One more thing, too. Trish Stratus won her first WWF Women's title last night at Survivor Series, and it was the first time that the women's title has been held since China vacated it at Judgment Day 2001.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. You are correct, sir.
Mm-hmm. Takedown spear by Lita. Lita goes into the ropes. Flapjack to Trish. Trish misses an elbow. Trish pushes Lita to the outside. Trish baseball slides Matt. And then Trish backslides Lita for a pin. For this matchup, I gave it a 1.25 stars. It was fine. Trish is still a little bit green, and Lita's like the veteran. Nothing too much here as well, except more stuff is happening between for Lita and Matt here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would defer to you on this. I think that there's the majority of the work that's being done. It's flashes of brilliance. I mean, we're still a little bit of ways away from when I think Trish and Lita are really running in their groove as far as like what they were able to accomplish as a team or as competitors against each other. So,
mm-hmm. So we go backstage, and the last members of the Alliance are backstage in Vince's office. Bubba Ray's like, I can't believe he fired Paul. So you have the Dudley Boys, you have Test, you have Stacy Keibler, Rob Van Dam, and Christian, who all have titles except for Stacy and Test. We'll get into. Vince congratulates them for being champions and for Test winning the Immunity Battle Royal. He says he holds no grudges, but he is going to punish the remaining members of the Alliance here. As he says that Rob Van Dam will face the Dudley Boys in a handicap tables match. So he doesn't really punish anybody else except for the baby faces here, as Rob Van Dam's the only one getting punished.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of par for the course with Vince, right?
Yep. And since Rob Van Dam declined to be a part of the WWF, it only makes sense.
Yes. Very much so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then Christian says he weasels in and says he's happy to be working for Vince again, but Vince tells him to get off get out of my get out of my office, basically, and to piss off.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't put the blue dot over his face during that show, So now we have Rob Van Dam versus the Dudley Boys in a handicap tables match. Mm-hmm.
Crossbody to both Dudleys by Rob Van Dam. Devon runs into Bubba. Rolling Thunder to Devon. Neckbreaker to RVD by Devon. Van Daminator to Bubba. RVD misses a 5-star frog splash into a table. So they give him, the Dudley Boys give him a 3D through the table, but it doesn't break. So the Dudley Boys don't win. And then they give RVD another 3D through the table, which breaks this time for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a star and 3/4. Very quick here as well.
Sure.
And it was fine, but just not that much action. As you'll see here, that this show isn't really for all the wrestling, as they're doing a hard reset, and it's mostly for the moments here on Raw.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a lot of character work. I mean, again, they just came off of a massive pay-per-view where they were doing a ton of matches and a ton of character work. So this is just like you said, it's probably that. Not only that, but like this is also this is the end of that extremely long and lengthy and time devoted storyline. So I'm sure that this was almost like just getting the night off for a lot of the gang. Like they were probably just like, go out there, put on the best show you can, but don't worry about putting on a 5-star match or anything like that. Like, we're just here to get through the motions so that we can move on to the next, the next show, which, or the next week or even the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it felt like that, again, a very hard reset, not just for the superstars, but also like, what are we going to do with these WCW guys that we still have left and everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Kurt Angle arrives to the building looking for The Rock. And then we have Linda McMahon. She's at WWF New York, shaking hands with the fans here. I kind of always thought it was funny that I thought it was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, Linda's going to do the New York spot here tonight.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle is backstage with The Rock. Kurt wants The Rock to say thank you for saving the WWF. Rock says he didn't need Kurt's help to save the WWF. Rock reminds Kurt that he went undercover and bashed all the WWF teammates with chairs, only to get the big moment. Rock then challenges Kurt tonight and will put the WCW world title on the line. Rock says to Kurt Angle, he is no hero. Kurt Angle is just an asshole. Very strong promo here by The Rock.
Sure. Well, The Rock's kind of he's almost like he's still in the prime of his career right now. So yeah, he's rocking and rolling.
Mm-hmm. Shane and Stephanie arrive, and keep in mind also that this whole time we're going to get a lot of flashes of the parking lot too. And Jim Ross is like, "Oh, we're still waiting on Stone Cold."
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shane and Steph. Yeah. Shane and Steph arrive. Steph's like, "I can't believe Dad invited us to the ring. What do you think he wants?" And even Shane's like, "Steph, it's over. Like, let's just go to the ring. Like, I'm ready for this to be done. You can see it." He's like, "Let's just go. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
So we come back from commercial. Vince is back in the ring. He invites Shane and Stephanie to the ring. They come to the ring without music. So even King's like, they don't even get music. That's how much Vince doesn't like his kids anymore. They come together to the ring. Vince says he's really proud that the fans call Stephanie a slut, and Vince lets them speak. Shane goes first. He says congratulations and that Vince won and Vince is the better man. And then Shane leaves. So Shane really got off scotch-free here. What are your thoughts on this one, Keith? Just the Shane part first.
I mean, if I'm gonna take my kayfabe hat off, I mean I think Vince has always had an issue with Shane, and Shane. There's like a story about Shane wanting to do something with like the UFC, and Vince saying like no, and Shane being like, "Listen, Dad, I think this is a really good idea," and then Vince kind of saying like, well, if you want, you better take that knife and you better stab me in the heart because that's the only way you're going to do it. You're going to have to kill me like I killed my father. Like, you know, and it's like the story that, you know, the meaning that like Vince is just, he didn't want to ever negotiate with his children, I feel like. And, you know, Stephanie was very amicable and making sure that she listened to whatever daddy said and all that kind of thing. So this was probably, you know, maybe a worked shoot where Vince is like, you know what? Or Shane's like, you know what? Congrats, Dad. You did good. I'm out. And then just kind of leaves. And, you know, and that's kind of was what was going to happen afterwards as well. Like Stephanie ends up being the one that's on television for a lot longer. I mean, this is the last time we see, well, this is the last real interaction between Shane and Vince. What, almost until when he comes back to feud with Shawn Michaels, I think.
No.
Well, because Shane gets involved with like the Kane stuff, but isn't like that kind of it? I mean, he's not really involved with Vince until I think, like, is it? Or I don't remember.
Yeah, Shane. So Shane leaves after this time, and you're right that Shane, I don't think really wanted himself on television anymore, and just wanted to be a part of the backstage and be part of the media and everything, and just try to promote WWF any way he could, by like with the watchful eyes of his father. Stephanie was more of the television on-air persona, and we'll see more of her in 2002 and so on, like you said. So Shane leaves, and this is the last time we see him until one time he confronts his dad for hiring Eric Bischoff as the new Raw GM. But other than that, we see him in 2000. He returns in 2003 to defend his mom, and they have one interaction segment on a highlight reel where it's like Jericho and Vince, and Shane's there too. But really, like you said, in 2006, we see the McMahons feuding with Shawn Michaels. So they team up in 2006, but other than that, it's mostly like father versus son. I hate you, and look what you did to mom, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Shane leaves, and then Vince turns to Stephanie, and Stephanie immediately starts to cry, basically, and says, I didn't want to be a part of the alliance. I didn't want to purchase ECW. It was all Shane's fault. Shane told me to purchase ECW and try to put you out of business. He even told me to slap mom. I didn't want to do it, but Shane said I had to do it. So Stephanie, again, trying to be a sniveling daughter by not putting any responsibility on herself and saying that Shane forced her to do all those things. At first, you'd think that Vince is going to buy this. And, Stephanie actually ends up hugging Vince as well, but then Vince calls for security to escort her out of the ring, and then he says, oh wait, say goodbye to daddy's little girl, and Stephanie is out of the arena.
Yeah, get rid of Stephanie. She needed me personally, I would get rid of as many McMahons as possible. So yeah, to get rid of Stephanie and Shane, I'm good. Get rid of them, you know.
Yeah, again, we'll see. You would see Stephanie come back in 2002 for a short time, and then she's off, and then she comes back as the all grown up SmackDown general manager, which was a huge blow up for Steph as well. Right. Glow up, not blow up.
Right.
Yes. She comes back more mature and not whining.
Nice. Blow up. I like that, yeah.
Yep. So again, Vince is backstage again, and Chris Jericho walks in. Vince wants an explanation for Jericho attacking The Rock at Survivor Series. Jericho says it was his ego that got in the way. Vince says Jericho will face Kane tonight. And then we see Mr. T in the crowd.
Mr. T.
I know. if it weren't for WrestleMania 1, I'd be like, who's this guy? And the A-Team, it's like, wow, Mr. T, what a random appearance here.
Yeah, I think he was already starting to talk about his mama and that, before he got into the Hall of Fame with that thing. Yeah. Amazing, Mr. T. That's insane.
Yep. So now we have our world title match here. It is The Rock versus Kurt Angle. Kurt slaps Rock, kicks to Rock, Samoan drop to Angle, back suplex by Angle, belly to belly suplex to Rock, German suplexes to The Rock. Rock counters a moonsault. Sharpshooter by Rock. Rock lays the smackdown on Angle and a DDT. Spinebuster to Angle. Angle slams to The Rock, but Kurt doesn't cover him. Ankle lock gets countered into a small package by The Rock for the win. For this matchup, I'm going to give it 2.25. It was very, very good. It was very good. For a hard reset and for the bodies of Kurt and Rock for what they went through last night. Very good, solid match. So 2.25.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely Kurt. They have great chemistry together. Rock's running on full cylinders, even though he was kind of gone for a bit in 2001. To go, what was it? I think to make the Scorpion King, or I think it was Scorpion King or Mummy 2 or whatever. But and I mean, Kurt's a friggin' wrestling machine. He always has been, always will be. So yeah, no, this is best match of the night so far. Probably, and I would say best match of the night altogether. So
yeah. So then Angle tries to attack The Rock, but gets a rock bottom for his troubles. Jericho comes down and beats down The Rock. Ankle lock to The Rock by Kurt, and then the walls of Jericho to The Rock. So the trouble between Jericho and The Rock is not over by a long shot here.
Nope, not at all.
And I thought it was an interesting moment at Survivor Series when Jericho did hit the breakdown to The Rock. It's like, oh my God, it exploded.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have a great feud in 2001. One of the best non invasion feuds really is The Rock and Jericho, and I loved that about that with feuding over the WCW title. And really it's great too, because it gives it really sets up Jericho for that run at the end of the year as the unified champ.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but it's like you can't win the big one, and then it's like Jericho is always like, "Who's laughing now, Rock?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Vince is now back in the ring again for the third time. He invites William Regal to the ring, and he says that Regal is going to be the first member of the Kiss My Ass Club. Regal starts asking Vince if he wants a coffee or if he wants help getting his bags and stuff. But Vince says that's not what he meant by kiss my ass. Vince says Regal will literally kiss his ass. Vince tells Regal to get on his knees. Vince pulls his pants and underwear down. Vince gives Regal chapstick. He says, I'm not going to have someone kiss my ass with chapped lips. So you're going to put on the chapstick and then you're going to kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Regal literally kisses Vince's ass.
Sure.
So I heard about this. I heard the stories about this segment. Darren Matthews, also known as William Regal, said he wanted to do this segment because he felt that he owed it to Vince for paying for rehab and everything and helping Regal get clean. So he's like, whatever Vince wanted, I owed it to him. He wanted me to kiss his ass. I'm going to.
That's funny. Yep. I like that. That's good. I mean, also Regal kind of low key one of the better comedy acts in wrestling, I feel like. I mean, and that's even going back to his days in WCW where, you know, he was when he had like the vignettes with Bobby Eaton, where he was, you know, trying to teach Bobby Eaton manners and shit like that. So William Regal low-key has always been one of, I think, the better comedy acts in wrestling. So yeah.
Yep. So Regal is walking backstage and runs into Taz of all people. Taz calls Regal a kiss ass, but also Taz catches a beating from Regal for his words here. So it looks like Taz is going to be staying on as a commentator. Yeah. And he has a job, even though he doesn't have a title. But again, Taz wasn't officially a part of the alliance going into Survivor Series. So, as he says, Taz is just Taz.
Well, and then Taz has that deal where he chokes out Paul Heyman, you know, when Paul Heyman starts ripping into him. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, that Heyman SmackDown segment before Survivor Series, all-time classic.
All-time, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now we have Kane versus Chris Jericho. This is punishment for Jericho almost costing the WWF their jobs. Clothesline to Jericho, elbow drop to Kane, neck breaker to Kane. Kane catches Jericho, lion salt. Kane catches Jericho's lion salt. A low blow to Kane, a big boot to Jericho. Power slam by Kane. Jericho hits Kane with a chair for the disqualification. Walls of Jericho to Kane. For this matchup, I gave it 1.25 stars. It was good, but again, no clear winner, obviously, and you know, Jericho is just on a rampage.
Yeah, I agree. You kind of said it all right there.
Kurt is upset he lost to The Rock tonight, and he runs into Edge, who has the Intercontinental and WCW US titles as well. And Kurt says that Edge should be thanking him for saving his job, but Edge says, well, I already saved my job by becoming the unified champion. Edge says Kurt Angle did it for himself because it's like, well, if the Alliance wins, Kurt Angle has a job. But the minute the WWF was going to win, Kurt Angle just comes and saves the day for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's going to get even more confusing as we get into SmackDown too. Like, you know, with everybody attacking people, it's like, well, you guys have jobs and everything. You know, it's not like why are you blaming one guy for not having a job when you already have titles and everything? We'll get there when we get to SmackDown. So now we have William Regal versus Taz. And when Taz comes out, his pyro was like I think it malfunctioned, Keith, because there's smoke all over the place, and you couldn't even see what was like really happening in the ring, like with all the smoke from Taz's pyro.
Yeah. Huh.
Punches by both men, clothesline by Taz. Taz mission to Regal. But then Regal gets to the ropes and then hits the Regal stretch to Taz, and he taps. I gave this a dud.
Yeah, this is kind of shitty.
This is nothing. And again, you couldn't even see what's going on. I don't even know if those people in Charlotte could breathe.
Maybe not.
With all that sulfur and smoke and everything. But now we come back, and it's Vince and Kurt. They're backstage. Kurt complains that no one thanked him for saving the WWF. Vince asks if Kurt wants to be the WWF champion, and Kurt says it would be an honor.
Yeah.
He's like, but how? He goes, follow me. So here we come to our climactic big surprise here at the main event segment. Not a match, a main event segment. So here we go, Keith. This is what everyone's been waiting for.
Yep.
Vince and Kurt Angle come out with the WWF title. Vince says thank you to Kurt Angle. Vince says Kurt Angle is a hero. And he says Stone Cold is a sore loser. Vince says they need Kurt Angle as the WWF champion. Vince McMahon is about to strip Stone Cold Steve Austin of the WWF title and present it to Kurt Angle when all of a sudden trumpets start to play and we hear Space Odyssey 2001?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. And Jim Ross with the commentary line of the night. It can't be what I think it could be, but it is. There's the Nature Boy. Out comes Ric Flair to the ring. Vince says he almost forgot about Ric Flair, and he says, well, you're almost forgotten. Ric Flair says that, well, Charlotte is my hometown, and I got some stuff to say. And Vince is like, oh, so you're here just because Charlotte's your hometown and you wanted to say stuff to the fans. How nice, Mr. Flair. But Ric Flair says he put a bet on a winner last night. He tells Kurt Angle to be Rick tells Kurt to win the title the right way and to be the man, you got to beat the man, basically. He says Shane and Stephanie sold their stocks to a consortium and that the consortium was him. Ric Flair says that Vince and Rick are going to be limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, and wheeling and dealing because now they're partners. Yep. Vince McMahon gives that old tug on the ear, like, what just happened? And then out comes Stone Cold. Kurt Angle tries to tell Austin to back off, and if anyone knows why he did it and wants an explanation, it's you. But Stone Cold is not having it. He starts to beat on Kurt. And then Vince tries to pull Austin off, but Vince gets a beat down, and they go to the outside, and Vince. So Stone Cold and Ric Flair are now celebrating and drinking beer, as now Ric Flair is the new co-owner of the WWF. As we go off the air here.
Yep.
What did you think of this segment here?
I mean, this is one of the best of that era. I mean, it was a great way to bring back Flair. I don't know if we needed a Flair run as an actual active member of the roster in 2001. Oddly enough, we end up getting a run as Flair as an active member of the roster in 2002 and then moving forward. So I don't know, but I mean, it's always made me laugh that I don't know if anybody even knew what the word consortium meant until Ric Flair showed up, and then everybody all of a sudden is it's like when Triple H when the title was vacant and he kept saying in abeyance, and everybody's like, what the frig is an abeyance stand for? And it's like, oh, it's vacant. Okay. It's just like no one knew what consortium meant, and then everybody all of a sudden had to look up in their dictionaries what it meant. No, this is a great angle. I always felt like that Vince respected the hell out of Ric Flair and showed him a lot of respect, whereas Flair would have his up and downs depending on whoever the hell was booking WCW. So I liked that Flair came back. It was great to have him on. He's a hell of a character. He's a hell of a personality. He's a hell of a drunk, that's for sure. But it was great. Hey, listen, before we move on to SmackDown, do you know who else is in the Kiss My Ass Club?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Jim Ross.
Yep.
Trish was going to be a member, but The Rock stopped it.
Okay.
Marty Jannetty, I believe is.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I guess notable members of the
yeah, Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
And then Shane McMahon got pushed into Vince's ass by Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22.
Yep. There's two others.
I think it's Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle is one. Yep.
Who's the last one? Oh crap! It's dude. Wow, I'm actually stumped.
Well, I'll give you a hint. You mentioned him early in this episode.
It's not Kurt. It's not Christian.
No, the first guy we see on this episode.
Oh, hey. No, Jim. No, Foley. Oh, geez.
Foley.
Yes, that's right. In 2006.
After SummerSlam. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I was like, Foley, too. Yeah.
Now, there's been a few that have avoided it. Actually, Marty Jannetty avoided it. It actually says Marty Jannetty tried to get him, but he was saved, and he ended up taking the Master Lock Challenge instead, I guess. But there's been some people who have avoided it. Triple H avoided it. Eric Bischoff avoided it. Zach Gowen avoided it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, Trish Stratus, and then, of course, Vince McMahon with Steve Austin. So,
yep. And instead, that would be Ric Flair. I mean, that would be Jim Ross taking Austin's spot here.
Correct.
Yep.
And William Regal, joining the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, was nominated in the category of Best On-Screen Romance for the Raw 10th Anniversary show on January 14th in 2003.
That I remember. It was like, kiss my ass. Not to be outdued by Triple H and Stephanie, though, winning who won that award, no less. Yeah. So, Keith, I would say let's stop. Let's finish it at the end to do our recap of the invasion. But I say we do it right here because after on SmackDown, it's like there's no more alliance here. So the invasion as a whole, as I look back on it, it was a good idea. And it was a good idea in July and August.
Yeah.
By the time you get to September, it's like, well, now we're just feuding with WWF versus WWF guys, and RVD is number one, But again, you had Booker T, you had Rob Van Dam, right. DDP had a prominent role, but other than that, it's just a bunch of the power plant guys and cruiserweights, guys who made it were the Hurricane, who had the notable superhero gimmick that really worked. But again, everybody from WCW at the time was a power plant person.
Yeah. Well, so here's the biggest problem with the invasion is that, and you kind of said it where you said they're feuding with WWE or feuding with WWE guys. It was the same thing. So the fact that they had so many guys on like the massive contracts that WWF didn't want to pay, and you had a lot of guys like you had Hall, you had Nash, you had Goldberg, you had Hogan, you had I'm trying to think who else would have come over. I guess Steiner, because Steiner doesn't come over till later. Obviously, Sting didn't want to do. I don't know if Sting didn't want to ever, or if Sting was still on a contract. He didn't have any interest in Luger. He made that whole point about Jeff Jarrett, is FIRED or whatever. And so there were a lot of guys that were main guys that didn't get to come over because of their contract status, or Vince just didn't want them. And so when you look at like the final year of WCW, even though there were some highlights, there were highlights by guys that wouldn't necessarily have been main event level people to run an invasion angle. So while you ended up getting some decent character work with some of like maybe the lower card or mid card guys, they weren't big enough names. Like, wasn't like Mike Awesome is all over the friggin' invasion and he does absolutely nothing. It's like, and then they saddled Diamond Dallas Page, who was one of the most. That's why it was weird for me that it was like automatically they made it seem like WCW was a heel faction, because you literally had the most over friggin' guy in the company with Diamond Dallas Page, And yet they don't do any. They saddle him with this terrible gimmick of being the stalker, and then they fucking team him with Canyon. It's like, come on, bro. Like, that's not, if you wanted to go with almost like take the roster like late 2000, mid to late 2000, maybe, but because you had guys like, you had Bam Bam, you had you had a lot of guys. There's a lot of talent in WCW, but because of how mixed up it was just not worth it. If I was to redo the invasion angle, I almost would have waited until either 2002 or maybe what I would have done is, instead of doing an invasion angle in 2001, I would have keep the thing with Shane buying WCW. Fine. If you want to have WCW run as its own entity, fine. If you wanted to not do that, don't do an invasion, but start incorporating the guys in, like Booker T, like Diamond Dallas Page, like I'm trying to think, like, who else was like a big name from them? I mean, I hate to say Mike Awesome again, but like that. Incorporate those guys back into it so that for the rest of 2001, it's kind of like still the Attitude Era type thing. And then maybe in 2002 or even in 2003, when you could start having Goldberg, you had Hall, you had Nash, you had Hogan. Maybe then you get Sting. Maybe if for like the first year or so, it shows that these guys, I remember Sting saying that he watched when The Rock was in the ring with Booker T before Booker T like fully turned. And he asks, like, who the blue hell are you? And it's like, that like totally just sold Sting on, I don't want to be part of this because I know they're not going to respect us the way they should. And so if maybe they hadn't done that and they kind of showed them the respect that they deserved as professionals, maybe in 2002 or even in 2003, you could have done another invasion angle and it would have been awesome because you could have at least had maybe Hogan, maybe Goldberg, maybe Nash and Sting, like, and Diamond Dallas Page. Like, that's a great invasion right there. And you don't have to even have it be, because again, when you look at it, it's like the two biggest names on the invasion angle, the three biggest names for the invasion by the time it gets to Survivor Series is friggin' Austin, who historically was laughed out of WCW because Eric Bischoff fired him, and it was an historical blunder. You had Kurt Angle, who never stepped foot in either WCW or ECW to perform. And then friggin' Shane McMahon, who's the son of the guy that owned the company. Like, just such a botch because they waited. They didn't want to wait. He wanted to cash in on that, monopolize on that. They should have done the thing with the network back then where they started, utilizing the catalog of all the WCW video that they had, all that archive footage. And you could have rolled off that for like a year. And then you do an invasion angle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Keith. They should have waited for the contracts to run out and renegotiate and bring everybody in. Another reason that I think that this totally failed, besides the lack of star power, was that by the time you get to September, the WCW mid-carders, and there were still good mid-carders, they're not used on television as much as maybe they were on the house shows, but they're not featured prominently on Monday Night Raw. Like again, a guy like Mike Awesome is not being featured on Raw, and Canyon's not being featured on SmackDown, and all these other guys too. And you can say whatever you want, but I kind of like the Hugh Morris's gimmick at the end of WCW. Like, he was being portrayed as a big star. Was he a big star? Yes and no. In some cases he was, in others he wasn't. But again, Vince took his eye off of, I don't know what to do with these guys anymore. It's like, dude, you just signed us and everything. Put us to work. We can still wrestle.
Yeah.
Again, Buff Bagwell did it to himself, but you put Bagwell and backed him up in a corner. I mean, the match wasn't that bad. Yeah. I mean, it's just that everyone was like, "Oh, this match sucks." The crowd wasn't invested, and it's like you could have waited a whole week just to do it in Atlanta, Georgia, which was the backyard of WCW.
Yeah, No, there's a lot of. I mean, there's the Buff Bagwell Booker T match is not. It wasn't bad. I think they could have gotten away with running as a separate show altogether. It needed a little bit more of like a tweak as opposed to, just what they ended up putting out. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame. Like if I was in the audience, honestly, if I was in the audience, well, maybe if I was my age now, and I'm in the audience, I would have been bullshit. Because even now, like when I go to, like independent wrestling, or if I go to a wrestling show and I hear people saying like boring or what, like it pisses me off because I'm like, these guys are working hard. Like they're not, and that match is, those two dudes are working hard. They're trying. And as much as Sean Kidd wants to shit all over Booker T, man, Booker T's a hell of an athlete. He's a hell of a wrestler. He's a hell of a pro. And, I mean, you're not going to get me to say anything bad about the 2-time Rookie of the Year winner, Marcus Alexander Bagwell. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Buff was good. It's just that he got backed up into a corner, and he was the scapegoat to why that failed and everything. And then, so the bottom line really is that Vince did this to say, I'm number one, WCW is number two, and you're all going to pay for this, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's the end result, is that, he was always irritated with Ted Turner, and when Turner said, I'm in the wrestling business and all that, and, we heard that 1,000 times. And then he was pissed obviously at Eric Bischoff for trying to run him out of the business, even though Vince literally ran every other friggin' company out of the business, but whatever. And so this is the ego of a man who had the opportunity to do something much like when you look at like Triple H now, where it's like Triple H is working with TNA. And I guarantee you, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get to the point where TNA or AEW and WWE do some kind of like a joint show where, they're working together to do some kind of a super show, because I just think it's like, what's good for business is to not just constantly be trying to kick down other brands or other people when you are on top, because, Vince, there was a period of time where Vince wasn't on top, and, but Eric Bischoff did try to put him out of business. So I'm not gonna go too far.
Yeah. But then again, then you have like the whole, I mean, again, mismanagement of stars, like almost humiliating the stars too. The DDP stalker angle is one. That the Chronic debacle. I mean, I don't even think that was a bad match. And it's like, well, Taker's mad. It's like, okay, Taker's mad and stuff, but I don't think that was a bad match. I just think that like Vince gave in to Taker and was like, oh, you guys are fired,
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody can say, oh, we were nice to WCW and, we all got along with them. We wanted them to come. It's like, no, you didn't, and that's coming from Bradshaw, It's like, oh, I liked everybody that came over. It's like, no, you didn't, dude.
I mean, I will say this, though. A lot of those guys ended up having, decent runs, maybe not with the company on air, but they had a lot, like, I think of like you said, Hugh Morris and Dean Malenko and Fit Finley and obviously John Laurinaitis, and a lot of those guys ended up having pretty lengthy careers with the WWE after WCW closed its doors. So maybe it wasn't as bad as we think.
No, and Keith, who do you think on the Alliance side, not Stone Cold and Kurt and all them, but like the WCW and ECW guys, who was the MVP for them? Is it Rob Van Dam or is it Booker T?
I would say Booker T for the amount of shit that guy had to eat, but Rob Van Dam on talent, because I don't think anybody was going to make Rob Van Dam look foolish, and he didn't look foolish. But I think Booker T, so I'm going to give it to Rob Van Dam just because he didn't look foolish at all. Whereas there were a lot of times Booker T had to kind of eat shit and take the bumps for, maybe somebody else down the line who was going to, he went through the wall so that Rob Van Dam could walk. So
yeah. And it almost felt like what Booker T was going through. It was like a warning, like, let's not go to the WWF. Imagine having Stein. And I always said, if I could have one WCW contract, I felt like it was like Scott Steiner, but then it's like you look at like Scott Steiner's aggressiveness. He's not getting along with anybody in 2001. No way.
No. I would say if there's one guy that they should have had, it should have been Goldberg. And not having Goldberg is insane. It's insane. But they could have. I mean, there was a lot of talent. There was a lot of talent that they just kind of left. Either because of they didn't want to pay for the contracts, and the contracts were, guaranteed money. So why, they're not. Obviously, Vince isn't going to be paying every dollar that WCW is paying them, or Time Warner or AOL Time Warner. So a lot of those guys just ended up taking the deal and just staying home. But I think they could have had a massive explosion of talent from everybody if they decided to have, just if they decided to either A, pay all that contract money, or B, just do whatever. Wait. They had waited. I mean, even if they waited until 2002, they would have had a lot more guys. Yep. And him not taking like Jeff Jarrett is stupid. Like, why? Because Jarrett screwed him over. Big fucking deal. Jarrett held him up. He was owed money. Again, like you can't think of you can't sit there and talk about Jarrett and go, oh well, Jarrett's a businessman. He was owed his money. He didn't even really threaten to not wrestle China at that pay-per-view. He did. He just wanted his friggin' payout. I don't blame the guy.
I think Jim Ross made it a little bit bigger than what it was.
Yeah.
So the final two reasons why the invasion angle didn't work, but it still was fun, is because of the high contracts and lack of major WCW talent and the mismanagement of the talent that Vince had acquired.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Keith, let's get into it. Keep in mind, this is Thanksgiving 2001. It's SmackDown November 22nd. I actually remember watching this on Thanksgiving Thursday night because there was no school on Friday. So again, you talk about holiday traditions, besides the Christmas ones, this was a Thanksgiving one for me. Always watching SmackDown on Thursday because you had no school on Friday.
Yep.
We're live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right up the road, I guess, from Charlotte. We have the recap of Raw, of Ric Flair coming in, saying that him and Vince are partners. Rick comes to the ring. He recaps buying Shane and Stephanie's WWF stock. He owns 50% of the company. He talks about the next pay-per-view, which is called Vengeance, not Armageddon, because they didn't want Armageddon associated with the whole 9/11 attacks and everything. Right. And so they said, we're just going to call it Vengeance. Rick talks about Vengeance. He talks about the two world champions, Stone Cold being the WWF champion and The Rock being the world champion. He says Stone Cold and The Rock will wrestle at Vengeance to see who becomes the one great champion. Vince comes to the ring. He wants, again, he's saying, I want you to thank Kurt Angle for everything, but the fans are just booing him, like, let it go, Vince. And Vince can't believe he is partners with Ric Flair, but Vince agrees that there should only be one champion in the WWF. He has a proposal for Rick. He proposes that Stone Cold defend the WWF title versus Kurt Angle, and The Rock defends the WCW or the world title against Y2J Chris Jericho. And then those winners of those matches will face off one man to become the undisputed champion of the WWF. And Ric Flair agrees. So what did you think of this monumental announcement?
I mean, it's great. I mean, at the time, we didn't need 2 titles because they weren't really splitting championships. I mean, it's funny though, because they do end up splitting, because don't they do the brand draft it's early 2002, they do the brand split. And then oh no, but then it's not until Eric Bischoff gets there that they do that, like Triple H gets the championship. Yeah, so I guess it was a little while they had one champion. Yeah.
In 2002, when they first did the draft, on I believe Triple H was champion, and they agreed that the undisputed champion would appear on both shows and defend the title on both shows until Brock Lesnar took the WWE title with him exclusively to SmackDown. That's when Bischoff brings back the World Heavyweight Champion.
Right, so I guess it made sense, yeah. But it made sense to have just one championship, yeah.
Vince frowns how Ric Flair announced he was co-owner in his hometown. He also said Ric Flair knew Stone Cold was in the building on Raw, and Ric did nothing and had beer with Stone Cold. Vince says he will always have Ric's back, and Ric will have Vince's back. So again, tensions between the two managers here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Coach is backstage, and he asked Trish why she accepted a gravy bowl match. Trish says she is a champion that accepts all challenges. Yes. So we're going to see a gravy bowl match here tonight, Keith.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, but it's the spirit of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it sure is.
So we have this matchup here that got this little feud got started at Survivor Series. Test attacked Scotty 2 Hotty backstage before Scotty could enter the Immunity Battle Royal, and Test took his spot and won the match. So Scotty 2 Hotty is out for revenge. So it's Test versus Scotty 2 Hotty. Clothesline to Scotty, suplex by Test, missile dropkick by Scotty, bulldog to Test. Test counters the worm. Scotty rolls up Test for a 2 count. Test counters another bulldog into a big boot for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a 1.25 stars, Keith.
That's giving it a lot.
I guess you would go a little lower than that, huh?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So we're backstage, and this is Sharmell. She is backstage with Taz. I bet the first time you thought, wait, Booker T's wife was an interviewer backstage?
Yeah, I didn't remember that at all. No.
Neither did I. I thought Sharmell was just Queen Sharmell when Booker T was always.
I didn't think she ever did that. Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yep, no, she actually starts out as a interviewer for the WWF. She'll be around for like maybe a month or two, and then they're like, it's not working now, but we'll bring you back if we need you.
Yeah.
So she's backstage with Taz. Funaki makes fun of Taz and says, "You got beat by kiss-ass Regal." And Taz is like, "Oh, you think that's funny?" And he puts Funaki in the Taz mission. Big Show intervenes and challenges Taz. Says, "Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" And Taz is like, "Maybe I will." Yeah, because challenging Big Show to a match is fair, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Kurt Angle and Vince are in Vince's office. Kurt says everyone should be thankful that he is in the WWF. Kurt is thankful that Vince gave him an opportunity to become undisputed champion. Kurt complains he should already be WWF champion. Christian comes in with a turkey for his gratitude. And then Undertaker comes in to talk to Vince. Vince wants to know where Taker was on Monday. Taker said he didn't fit in Vince's celebration. Taker says he is mad Vince didn't let Taker in on Angle defecting back to the WWF. And then Vince gives a match to Taker versus Kurt Angle tonight.
All righty. We're off and rolling, right?
Yes, we are. Christian comes in with a turkey, and Undertaker's like, beat it, boys. I got to talk to you, boss. And Undertaker still being the American badass here.
Yeah, no, he's still good. He hasn't gotten into Booger Red yet, so that's good.
Nope. Now we have Taz versus the Big Show. Boot to Taz. Clothesline by the Big Show. Taz mission the Big Show. Big Show slams Taz down and pins him. Mm-hmm. I gave this a dud as well.
Yeah, no, this isn't anything really. Not anything really good. I feel like, I don't know why they're shitting all over friggin' Taz, to be honest with you. I don't get it, But I guess Vince didn't like Taz anyway, so it really didn't matter.
Vince didn't like small guys, and he didn't like Taz. Yep.
No. Yeah, it's a shame.
No. Yeah, it is. And again, Taz is basically at the end of his wrestling career here. He would have one tag team title run with Spike Dudley, and then Spike tells an interesting story that Spike was taken off the house shows, even though he was the WWF Tag Team Champion, because Taz doesn't work house shows. So Spike actually said, well, take the titles off of us and let me get paid more by working the house shows.
Right.
And JR actually said, okay, I'll pitch that to Vince. And he was like, all right, do it. So that's how Billy and Chuck became Tag Team Champions.
Oh, there you go. Oh, thanks.
So we're back in Vince's office. Regal comes in. And Kurt says he's ready to take on the Undertaker as well. Regal comes in. Vince whispers something in Regal's ear, and Regal says he will do it. We don't know what Vince asked Regal to do, but we'll see as the night progresses. Kurt Angle. Now we have Kurt Angle versus the Undertaker. Taker beats down Kurt, punches by Kurt, leg drop to Kurt, fireman's carry by Kurt. Kurt runs Taker into the ring post. Angle stomps Taker. German suplexes by Kurt. Sleeper hold to Undertaker. Clothesline by Taker. Taker misses a boot. Taker counters an Angle slam. Kurt counters a choke slam into an ankle lock. Choke slam to Angle, but Taker goes down. Ankle lock to. Then we have the ankle lock to Angle by Undertaker. Vince comes to the ring, but Taker catches him as Undertaker. Vince is going to hit Undertaker with a chair. Taker stares Vince down, and then Taker says all he wants is respect, and he leaves. The match itself was going really well. I gave it 2.5, but a very weird and odd ending here.
When is it that they have that? When is it? No, that's before, right? Where he has the thing with the bike, and then he brings down the scooter. Is that
yes?
02 or is that's in 2000 or 2000 early two? Yeah, that's in 2000, right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Is that like when Undertaker wears like the green pants?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, yeah, I mean, these two guys, I mean, don't forget, they have like battles too after this too. So yeah, I mean, again, Kurt's a machine. He'll work with anybody, and he puts on classics with anyone. So yeah, great time, fun time. Always a fun time with Kurt.
Yeah, and we're going to get a character reset on the Undertaker here as well. He's going to go big evil.
Yep.
William Regal then comes to the ring. Regal says he hates Thanksgiving. He is thankful that he kissed Vince's ass. Regal says the fans would do the same thing. Regal then calls out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Out comes Stone Cold. Austin was about to go on the mic, but then he puts like his face in his shirt, saying like, "Oh, you smell like ass, Regal." And then Regal says that it's all Austin's fault that Regal had to kiss Vince's ass, and then he says, "Well, here I have some breath mints for you and everything," but and then Regal just gets mad anyway about having to kiss Vince's ass, and then Austin gives Regal a stunner. But then the last remaining members of the Alliance come out. So it's Christian, the Dudley Boys, and Tess. They come out and they beat on Austin for apparently costing them the match at the Survivor Series. But it's like, guys, you had titles, and Tess, you won the Immunity Battle Royal. So why are you beating on Austin if you guys had secured your jobs already?
Yeah. Well,
So,
they're just trying to be evil.
Yes. That's all you can say is that they're trying to be evil and they're trying to get into the good graces with Vince again as well.
Yeah.
The Dudley Boys give Austin a 3D and Regal gives a Regal stretch. So then Vince and Kurt come out and all of them are celebrating, beating down Austin.
Yeah.
Vince gives Christian an Intercontinental title match. And then Vince welcomes back all the guys who defected to the WWF back to the WWF.
Yeah.
So a bunch of mishmash here. You see them all hugging and everything. And, all's well with Vince and his guys who went to the Alliance here.
Mm.
And now we have our Gravy Bowl match. It's Trish Stratus versus Stacy Keibler. Gravy Bowl match, Keith. Stacy and Trish sit down Stacy and Trish sit down at the dinner table. Stacy throws potatoes at Trish. Pie goes in Stacy's face and cranberry sauce. Trish goes into the Gravy Bowl. Oh, actually, Trish goes off the table. Kick to Stacy, slingshot into the gravy by Trish. Stacy, and then Stacy basically just like taps out. So for this whole matchup, I give it a dud.
Yeah. This is awful. I mean, it's actually if I can plug a future shit take episode, I actually have a shit take where I talk about how we had to kind of go through this bullshit to get to what we ended up getting in women's wrestling. But yeah, this is bullshit at the top level, this kind of stuff. So
Matt and Lita are backstage. Matt is mad at Jeff and how they lost their cage match to the Dudley Boys at Survivor Series. Matt says all Jeff had to do was climb down. Matt says Jeff made a dumb decision and says that that Jeff is selfish. And Leah says Matt needs to fix his relationship too, and that they're like having problems with their relationship too.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho walks out of Vince's office as we have our WWF Intercontinental title match, Edge versus Christian. Again, we've seen this so many times here, Keith.
Yeah.
Hip toss and backdrop by Edge, neck breaker by Edge, downward spiral by Edge for a 2 count. We got punches by Christian. Edge pushes the chair back into Christian's face. But then Test shows up and he beats on Edge. Edge spears Christian and Test. Well, no, he actually spears Christian, and then Test gives Edge a big boot. Then Christian gives Edge an unprettier to Edge on the chair. So a little bit of a good matchup here, but again, it's foiled by Test giving Edge the beatdown, and then Christian gives an unprettier to Edge on the chair.
These are literally just, these are childhood best friends who get to go out there and do one of the best things in the world, which is just go out there and fuck around with each other. I mean, you cannot ask for that in anything. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that the two of them were able to do this for years. For years, they got to like wrestle with each other, wrestle against each other. I mean, I always was a fan of like them teasing the breakup when Christian and Edge were together, and then you had the actual breakup, and you had Christian becoming like a heel and Edge being like the, getting the face turn and everything. Yeah, no, this is fun. It's a quick match. It's not anything outstanding, but it's definitely not their best work, but it's not their worst work either. So yeah, no, I like this a lot.
Yep. And, mostly like we'll see a little bit more of Edge versus Christian, but they're going to pivot away as Edge is going to get more shots with everybody else as the Intercontinental Champion. And Test is Test. He sticks around.
Yeah.
So does Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So now we are going to our main event here. It's a WWF Tag Team title match. Rob Van Dam and The Rock versus the Dudley Boys. But that gets canceled as Vince comes out and decides to change it into a handicap match with Chris Jericho. So now it's Chris Jericho and the Dudley Boys versus The Rock and Rob Van Dam. The Rock and Rob Van Dam teaming together sounds like a classic team up.
Yeah, absolutely. This is also I think my least favorite era of the Dudley Boys, because like this is kind of like when they're. I didn't like them at this. I didn't like them at this time. Where they're kind of like.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like the Bully Ray, proto Bully Ray, almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were cool in 2000. This is like up into 2001. The Alliance was the Alliance. They're just the enforcers. Yeah. The Hard Reset didn't do the Dudley Boys any good, really. They're just like being the tag team and stuff. But then when they do their singles run, it's like, oh, God, Devon's a reverend and Bubba's sucking wind.
The only thing of note from what's his name? It's not Brother Devon. Reverend Devon is that he brings up Batista. That's about it. And then
that's what everybody said.
Yeah, and then honestly, I can't what does Bubba Ray's on Raw? What does he even do on Raw? I can't even remember.
He becomes hardcore champion, and he's in a tag team with his brother Spike.
It's so bad. It's like, remember when they split the New Age Outlaws in '99, and and then they no, there was a reason why Rockabilly and the Roadie were doing absolutely nothing in '97. Because they were terrible separate. You got to keep them together. It's kind of like, and I know that Bully Ray. I know that Bubba Ray had a pretty decent career afterwards on his own. But yeah, no, he's not, he needed to go to TNA to have that happen. He wasn't going to be a success as a singles guy in WWF.
No. And when I was the happiest, what was I, 11? Yeah, I was the happiest 10-year-old on the planet when the Dudley Boys reunited at Survivor Series 02.
Sure.
I was like, oh my God, here comes Devon. Yep. So Rock spinebusters Jericho on the outside on the stage, suplex to Rock by Bubba, clothesline to Devon, crossbody to RVD by Devon, spinning heel kick and high crossbody to Bubba, punches by Y2J to Rock, baseball slide elbow by Jericho, hip throw to Devon by Rock, tag to RVD, spring heel kick to Devon, rolling thunder to Bubba, hold on a second. Yep. What's up dive to RVD by the Dudley Boys. German suplex to RVD by Jericho. Backdrop by Bubba Ray. Devon does a headbutt. Tag to the Rock. DDT to Devon. Samoan drop to Bubba. Spinebuster by Rock and People's Elbow. Tag to Jericho. A somersault plancha by RVD to Bubba, rock bottom to Devon, a low blow, and a rock bottom by Jericho to the Rock for the win. For this matchup, I gave it 3 stars, and then Jericho just basically mocks the Rock here. Mm-hmm. I gave it 3 stars, and again, great performance by RVD and the Rock here. And again, we're heading into Vengeance with the feud of The Rock and Jericho and Stone Cold and Kurt Angle.
Yep. We're off and running to the next show. I mean, this is definitely that, because like you said, we're out of the invasion. We're back now to moving forward to the next show. So this is just, like you said, a hard reset. And there we go. We're off and running.
Yep, it's a hard reset. And again, like I said, some of the WCW guys would be back, not in a prominent role, but again, if you weren't Booker T and or DDP, you were on Sunday Night Heat and Velocity and just doing house shows.
But again, sense, though, because there wasn't a ton of guys that were big names, so it made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense. And even some of the guys who were part of that invasion have backstage roles now, like Billy Kidman and like Greg Helms, who was the Hurricane.
Yeah.
And again, Hugh Morris Bill DeMott or Hugh Morris had a great run at the Performance Center, whether those stories are true or not with everything.
Well, I mean, I like to think, imagine if we had, I mean, I know that they do because even when they do the brand split, they don't really bring everybody on, but like, imagine if there was like today's version of NXT back then. You could have had a lot of those WCW guys go to NXT and have a pretty decent run in NXT to a smaller audience, and have it just be rebuilding themselves.
And a lot of those guys who they did sign contracts to, Keithy, were in like OVW and the Heartland associations, which were the training facilities, but it wasn't like NXT.
No, they didn't have good TV, like nationwide television and stuff like that. No,
it was bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Keith, that's going to do it from us covering the last episode of Nation Invasion. But do you have anything that you want to plug the listeners to?
Well, everybody can hear me on GFA Live with Petey Winson. And then mostly you can hear me mostly on the Backbone Wrestling Network. I got a couple shows on there. I got the Shit Take with Sean Kidd. I got the Movie Education with Logan Crosland, Hands of Z, Can Keithy Take the Heat, which is also on YouTube. And coming back on my own personal feed through Podbean and Apple Podcasts is you'll hear A La Carte with Keithy. So, But just be on the lookout for anything that I'm doing. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can reach me on Blue Sky or our Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter at Flandre24.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you very much, Keith. I enjoy everything that you give on the Backbone Wrestling Network, and thank you very much for doing this episode for me, too.
Buddy, it was an honor to be the last guy on this show. I appreciate it. And good luck with if you move on to 2002. Good luck, because there's some shit that happens in this year.
Yes, there is. As for me, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have this podcast that's coming to an end, and also Extreme Resurrection with Steve Riddle, where we look back on ECW on Sci-Fi from 2006 to 2010. We are covering ECW on Sci-Fi from April 29th, 2008, and May 6th, 2008. We are covering Colin Delaney trying to get an ECW contract.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, the fallout from Backlash. We're in Mike Adamle commentary. We're in Mike Adamle commentary fences too. Yes, Jeff Harvey. Yeah, they're still trying to figure out who's going to be Kane's next next challenger for his ECW title. You still have Tommy Dreamer and Mike Knox fighting off each other. So a whole bunch of mishmash on those ECW episodes. So listen right there on Extreme Resurrection, and also on the Place to Be Nation pop feed. I have a podcast called Pop Goes Degrassi, where me and John Cazzolica, we look back on Degrassi Next Generation. We are moving along season 2. We just finished up episode 15 and 16. A lot of action and character development going on in Degrassi, where the students are just trying to figure out who they are, and we're going to get into some more storylines as Degrassi Next Generation moves along.
Unofficially known as Pop Goes to Gruney.
Yeah, or to Gruney Junior High, as Tim Capel says.
Gruney Junior High, unofficially known as the Gruney Junior High.
Gruney High, yeah. But again, I want to thank everybody who has listened to this podcast, and to all the guests who have been on this podcast. It's been a journey. Keithy, thank you again for being my last guest and doing this episode with me. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I love you, buddy.
Be prepared as we, the nation, end the invasion.